Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus pilot, and welcome to part 2 of our ferrying the troops home from Mali series in the Airbus A400. We have already ferried the troops from Camp Castor over to Niamey, which is where we are collecting everything, troops, equipment, and today we're going to fly home from Niamey, which is going to be around a 7-hour flight. Our A400 is ready, and we do have a brand new livery from flightsim.to featuring the actual Luftwaffe repaint with all the correct markings on it. Now, really nice to finally have this one correct, as the standard Luftwaffe livery from Ini Builds is really not a very good one. So today we have all the correct markings over here, such as the registration 5501, which is the first A400 that was delivered to the German Air Force, and we have the correct markings up here as well. And look at that, MSA 18, that means this one is a very old A400. It is one of the first ones built, number 18 of the line. So our ramp is already open, they can start loading up the equipment, and while they do that we are gonna go back to the front again, and I'd say we get right into our aircraft and prepare it for the upcoming 7-hour journey across the Sahara Desert, and then via Mallorca over to Wunstorf, which is home of the LTG-62, the Geschwader operating the A400. So they are already doing the work preparing the aircraft. Our FO is already in here and has powered the aircraft up already. So let's take a seat and we'll start with our setup right away by downloading our flight plan from SimBrief. And while that's in progress, let's move up here, turn on the IRSs so that they start aligning so that we are ready to go soon. Also a quick APU fire test, and when that's done we can start the APU itself. It's 19 degrees outside, not all that hot, but nonetheless a little bit of fresh air surely isn't gonna hurt anyone. And let's face it, noise is not a concern here. Okay, moving down into the flight plan then, let's have a look at the OFP, and we'll start with the general data of our flight, and we are gonna take that one from SimBrief real quick. So let's bring up the SimBrief page right here, and this is our generated flight plan in the 5501 as German Air Force 327 from Niamey over to Wunstorf. Starting with the route, we are departing northbound, crossing the Mali airspace, and then more or less a straight line until Menorca. From there we are following more or less the standard airliner routes up to our destination. Significant weather along the route. We are crossing a jet stream with a core in level 380 over here, but as you can see the jet stream already starts in flight level 120, so that means knots or 60 knots or stronger winds from flight level 120 onwards. But luckily they are right cross, and overall we have an average tailwind component on the route, which leads up to a good flight time. Possibility of some turbulence over here as we're crossing the Mediterranean north of the Balearics and abeam Barcelona, but apart from that the weather conditions are good. Moving up to our airports then, we have a little bit of dust but no significant clouds, 17 degrees here in Niamey, and in Wunstorf we are looking at gusts all around. They have a runway 26 over there, so we are going to have more or less a headwind over here, limited visibilities and some chances for some rain in the area. Our alternate Hannover has pretty similar conditions, but overall I don't see too much of a problem here with those winds being more or less direct headwinds. Therefore, if we have a look into the flight plan itself, we can make a decision on the fuel to carry, and since we basically don't lose any money for discretionary fuel, and since we do have some weight margins, I am just gonna take fuel for one additional go around, so 1,000 kilos extra. So if the minimum off-block fuel is 24.4 plus 400 taxi, round that up to 25, give me a ton more, 26 tons of fuel. And if we move back to the top of the plan, that leaves us well within any weight limitations of the aircraft, so we are good to go like that. So 26 tons of fuel is what we are gonna order today. Let's go to fuel and payload, import that one from SimBrief, and then we can modify our fuel over here, 26,000, like that. Apply load, and Here we go, thank you very much. So that's our flight preparation completed. Then I suppose we are gonna get right into the pre-flight procedures. So first things first, oxygen quantity is fine, the hydraulic quantities are fine, and the engine oil quantities are fine. So the flap lever is up, and the actual flaps do agree with that, spoilers are retracted. And, well, finally the brake check. So parking brake released, and then we go over to the wheel page. So brake pressure is checked, and the parking brake is set again. Perfect, done. Okay, quick pre-flight procedure. There is not all that much for us to do over here. That's what I love about those Airbuses. So easy to fly. Alright, down to the main panel. Let's check our QNH, which is 1019. Like that, everything is set over here, and down here anyway. So, TCAS above is already selected. Wonderful, then let's go down into the FMS. Init data request, our mission number will be 327. Enter from DRRN to ETNW, alternate Hanover, flight level 310. IRSs will be available in a moment. Then departure, runway 09, and we can take either runway here. I'm gonna go for 09 right. Okay, for the route itself, our SID is gonna be the Garçon 1 Echo departure. Here we go, Garçon 1 Echo, temporary flight plan, insert. Discontinuity, delete. And then for our arrival into Wunstorf, runway 26 will be in use. The approach is going to be the ILS approach. No star, no via, and we're going to clean the flight plan up a little bit later on. So, we don't need any nav aids, fuel and load. We have zero fuel weight of 107.6. A zero fuel weight CG of 29.3. And then our block fuel is 26 tons. The route reserves 3%. Then let's wait until it's calculated the extra fuel. 0.3, 900 kilos. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so on to the performance then. I'll take 100 meters lineup allowance, so takeoff shift by 100 meters. Temperature is 17 degrees, and the rest is looking good. So let's do takeoff performance computation. 33, 33, 41. Looking good. Insert. And that's it already. Transition altitude 3,300. Let's check if that is correct. So, departure charts, sit runway 09 right, and I'll take some airport charts as well. Then let's have a look. So, transition altitude should be 3,800, not 3,300. And that's inserted. And then for our route, we are going by the Garçon 1 Echo departure. Straight ahead 1100, then it's going to be a left-hand turn Romeo November 052, and thereafter towards Garçon. No initial climb published, more or less easy routing. And if we check that out on the FMS, that's what it looks like. Easy going. Okay. Up to the FCU then. Initial climb probably somewhere around 5,000, QNH 1019. nav display, I want constraints active. And for the background, I want the radar and the TCAS, please. Comms 1228 active, 1215 active, Squawk 2000. Here we go. The rest is set up here. Very nice. So with that, we are done with our setup. So let's go for the briefing. Okay, thanks. We're departing Niamey off runway 09 right, gas on 1 echo departure. Initial climb 5,000 and MSA is 2,500 feet. Extra fuel for about, well, 3 minutes or so. Alright, thank you. No hotspots for the taxi, and in case of any engine failures, the EO sit goes straight ahead for 25 miles. Pick up the holding over there. I don't have any specials or non-standards. We can return over here immediately. We're over the max landing weight, so we gotta read the overweight landing checklist as applicable. Now, threats for the departure. My main threat is animals and wildlife, so good look out the runway, but we're not going to avoid anything here. If rejecting the takeoff doesn't help avoiding the collision, then we are just going to keep it straight on track, except that we may hit some animals, take it airborne, evaluate the damage, and then come back as needed. Any questions on that? No? Okay, wonderful. So, bring up the radios. Like that, and then I'd say cockpit preparation checklist down to the line, please. Or before start checklist down to the line. Cockpit prep completed, gear pins and covers removed, fuel quantity 26 tons, takeoff data set, altimeter reference, QNH 1019, and IRS checked before start checklist complete down to the line. Okay, by now all our loading should be done. The blue pump is coming online, and then ground, main cargo, close. One left, close. Chocks, remove. We don't need ground power any longer, the APU is running, so remove GPU as well, please. So, looking good. Don't really need to say how to make any PA here. Let's close the door over to the cargo compartment. Take a seat, and then let's prepare our aircraft for engine startup. Okay, before start checklist, please. Below the line, please. Beacon, both bright. Before start checklist complete. Ground from flight deck. Go ahead. So, please confirm all doors and hatches are closed, ground equipment is removed, and the bypass pin is installed. That's all confirmed, Captain. Okay, thank you. Starting engines in sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're beginning with engine number 1 now. Clear 1. Engine 1 start. Something I notice over and over again with the A400 is how quickly you can do the setup. We're now just 14 minutes into the video. Engine 2 start. We're just 14 minutes into the video and we are already starting the engines. With the A320 family, or the A330, this usually takes us around 20 minutes. That really is a good sign of how much more complex, or rather, this is a really good sign of, despite the additional complexity of the A400, it still is a lot easier to actually operate, and the new Airbus FMS, as it is fitted into the A380, A350 and A400, is even more intuitive than what they used to have on the older Airbuses, such as the A320 and A330-40 family. And that's all despite the fact that it still looks very, very similar. In my opinion, really a marvel of engineering what Airbus have done with these aircraft. Okay, number 3 Surveyor, and starting number 4. Okay, ground, we have 4 good engine starts, you clear the board, and then I see you up here. So something that the German Air Force does is they have their own loadmasters who are doing the, well, let's call it marshalling during the engine start, and then once the startup is completed, they just take them back on board and yeah, that way they can operate autonomous without the need for any ground staff. Okay. So, after start checklist. Anti-ice, off, pitch trim, checked, after start checklist complete. Okay, flight control track. Full up. Full down, neutral. Full left, full right, neutral. Rudder, full left, full right, neutral. Okay, let me show you the taxi routing real quick before we get going. So we're up here on the military apron. We'll make a right-hand turn out, and then via Mike, runway 09 left, Mike 1 will taxi to the holding point of runway 09 right. So, lights on, brakes off. Engines unfeathered. And off we go. Brake check. Brakes okay. Okay, clear in the middle here, let's go. The Niamey Airport scenery is part of the Africa to Go project, available on flightsim.to, working perfectly with the new simulator. And they not only have a lot of military bases available in Africa, such as this one, but they also have a lot of civilian airports, which you can really use to explore a continent that traditionally had very little sceneries available to it. So lots of equipment here that's been ferried out of Mali as part of returning the troops home. Okay, we're clear on the right and we are clear on the left. Let's make a right-hand turn via runway 09 left. Alright, I have no changes to the takeoff briefing. Do you have anything? Nope. Okay. Before takeoff checklist down to the line, please. So, flight instruments, checked. Flight controls, checked. Briefing, confirmed. V1, VR, V2. 133, 133, 141. IFF, set. Radar and predictive wind shear. So, they are on and windows closed. Before takeoff checklist complete down to the line. US Air Force Base over here. Okay, and then off to the left, hold shot 09 right. So, clear on both sides. Okay, cabin, prepare for departure, please. Before takeoff checklist below the line. Takeoff runway 09 should be right over here, that's a typo. 09 right, full length. Loadmaster advised, packs 1 and 2 off, before takeoff checklist complete. Are you ready to go? Yes. Okay, config check. It's normal. So, lights are on, cabin is prepared, take off. Mantoga, SRS, auto thrust blue. Knots, checked. Rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. Nav, checked. Nav, checked. Okay, off we go. So the A400 is one of the few aircraft where I have actually applied some slopes to my controls. Power MCL, climb, and flap 0. Speed checked. Flap 0. Packs on. The A400 is one of the few aircraft where I have actually applied some slopes to my control surfaces. That's because the roll onset is so sudden in the current simulation by any builds that I'm really like, nah, I don't like that. So I'm using minus 50 in the aileron here. The elevator has 0 slope applied to it, because the elevator is really fine, it's only the aileron channel that is a bit problematic in here. Right. So, continue the climb please, flight level 100, after takeoff checklist down to the line, and set standard. Standard cross check, passing level 35 now. Checked. Okay, after takeoff checklist down to the line complete, below the line, altimeter reference, standard, engine start selector, norm, RA override is off after takeoff checklist complete. Autopilot 1. Alright, that was pretty good. So, a quick check reveals flight level 310 is achievable and probably the best option for now, since over Africa you really want to minimize your altitude changes, if at all possible. Even though we aren't over the worst parts of Africa for long today, once we're already in Algeria, things will be quite a bit more civilized as they do have radar available. But over Mali, we really just want to be at our altitude at the boundary and then be there, stay there. So, flight level 310 it is. All truths, flight level 310 blue. Now let's take the opportunity to start preparing the aircraft for our flight across the Sahara. Most important here is alternate airports, because you don't have many available. So what we are going to do is we'll head over to the fix page. And then we are going to take our departure airport, which is Delta Romeo November. And normally I'd go for a 400-mile ring, but that's out of range here, so let's take 256, which is the maximum, just as a visual reminder there. And then fix number 2 is going to become Delta Alpha Alpha Tango, Tamanghasset, which is a well-usable airport in Algeria. And fix number 3 is going to be something up to the north over there. And, well, for that we do have several different options available, if we're honest. Best for us is just to check in SimBrief and see just see what's available over there. So let's quickly go to SimBrief over here, close that up, and Tamanghasset is located down here, Delta Alpha Alpha Tango, and then we do have a couple of ones over here like Doubts on the other end side. And up here, I tend to say, what can we reasonably take up here? Algiers, Delta Alpha Alpha Golf. And those are the, let's say, good airports we have available along the route. The rest of it, you don't necessarily want to land there if you can avoid it. Well, I don't necessarily want to land in Tamanghasset either, but it's one of the better places along the routes, or let's say one of the safer places. That's always a bit of a problem flying across Africa. Alternate airports are just not very readily available. Alright, we passed level 100 in the meantime. So, lights off, signs off, and we already have airports selected up here. Transponder is operating, one of the most important things flying across Africa, because TCAS really is your last backup. And that's it for the time being, so let's climb up to cruising level, and then I see you all a little bit later. getting closer to our destination. Let's go ahead and start the setup for the approach. Now, unfortunately, we do not have charts for Wunstorf Air Force Base available in the simulator right here. If we have a look at that, ETNW, then you can see there is nothing available over here. For that reason, we are going to use our external Navigraph charts for our arrival, which are our best bet over here. Now, let's bring it up on screen right now, and then we can start with a little bit of a basic setup here. So first of all, let's have a look at the weather. The current weather is 280 at 15, showers in the vicinity, scattered clouds, broken clouds, 8 degrees, QNH 90903. So very good flying conditions for an ILS approach onto runway 26. The ILS approach starts at 5.7 DME at the Fox India 26 Zulu, and we have a 3-degree glide slope, minimum 374. Let's go ahead and program all of that into our FMS. So, starting with the descent, our managed speed is going to be 260 knots, that's fine. And now for the approach. We set the wind is going to be 280 degrees and 15 knots. The temperature is currently 8 degrees and the QNH 90903. Okay, minimum 374. And that's it. Transition altitude 5000 is correct. Let's see if flaps 4 approach would give us an approach speed. Well, that's a little bit higher, so we're gonna keep the config full for the landing. And then, in case of missed approach, we do have a couple of speeds available over here, fine with that. Let's have a look at our flight plan next. For that, let's change over into the plan mode. Scroll a little bit further down and see what we have. So our routing ends at Sarstedt, VOR, Sierra Alpha Sierra. After that, we are expecting radar vectors, which eventually lead us on to the final approach. And our missed approach is available over here as well, which is straight out to 2000 feet, and at 2 DME Whiskey Uniform November Takan, turn right to intercept radial 297, when passing 10 DME climb to 3000 and hold. Now let's go ahead and tune the TACAN as well. So RedNav, and we're looking for Island Whiskey Uniform November. And we can take that on both sides. So Whiskey Uniform November and Whiskey Uniform November. Okay, both are selected, and the ILS approach itself is going to be India Whiskey Uniform Whiskey. (109.725.8), and that's it. Alright, last but not least, let's go onto the position and monitor, and down here we'll take our landing runway, which is going to be Echo Tango November Whiskey 26, and that's it. Alright, that's all we had to do right here, right now. So, quick look at the performance page. 3 miles to our top of descent. Let's go ahead and start our descent. And initially we're gonna go down to 20,000 feet, and then later on a little bit further. Auto brakes low, ground spoilers, well, we are gonna do those later. And I think that's it for the time being. So, are you ready for the approach briefing? Yes. Okay, cool. So, radar vectors for an ILS approach onto runway 26, MSA 2700 in the south and 1900 in the north. Down to a minimum of 374 feet. In case of go-around, straight at 2 miles right and turn, intercept the radial outbound, initially 2000 feet, and after 10 miles climbing 3000 feet. And that's it. Any questions? Extra fuel and time. Maybe we can quickly talk about that. 45 minutes. Easy going. Alright, thanks. It'll be the ILS approach with config full flight director guidance will be used. And we are going to use auto brakes low to vacate the runway to the right hand side via the first available exit. I do not see any specials or non-standards over here. Do you have any threats for the arrival? Nope. Me neither. Alright, very good. Then QNH 9903, let's pre-select that real quick. Here we go. 993 and 993. Alright, cool. Then I see you a little bit further down in the approach. Well, that looks almost like home. We are back in the German clouds. Let's go ahead and quickly turn on our intake lights over here so that we can light it up a little bit. We have turned on the engine anti-ice and the propeller anti-ice in the meantime, and then let's go ahead and also turn on the lights. The signs are already on since we've entered some rather turbulent clouds here. TCAS goes into below, and with that we are basically done with our 10,000 foot flow. Now, as mentioned, radar vectors after Sarstedt, so for the time being continue present heading and descent altitude 5,000 feet on the QNH 9903. So it's flight level 50 blue, set QNH. QNH 993 copied, passing 7,800 now. Checked. Alright, 10 left heading 335. And approach checklist, please. Briefing confirmed. ECAM status checked. Nav mode, ILS, altimeter reference, QNH 9993. TORS on minimum, Barrow 374. Engine start selector, norm, approach checklist complete. A little bit of weather over here, nothing significant, and left heading 330. All green and amber, no problems flying through that. The cabin is already secure for a long time, since knowing the weather forecast we knew we could immediately start to prepare it. Well, and that's mostly it for now. Let's proceed towards our final approach and join the ILS approach runway 26. As we can see, there is Hanover Airport located just above or just below the final approach fix, some 2 miles out from it. So that is something to take into consideration. Now, let's descend 3,000, and then we are going to maintain those 3,000 until we actually overfly Hanover and intercept the glide slope. Now, one of the good things is if you fly almost immediately overhead an airport, then you don't really have to worry about any traffic on the approach or departure. But the problem is that the runways of Wunsdorf and Hanover are pretty much exactly aligned, so we got to be a little bit careful with traffic departing 27 right that departs pretty much exactly underneath our extended center line. So a little bit of care is needed there. Vertical speed, 1,000 to go. Look at this. Beautiful graphics, aren't they? Really, really like it. So that looks like we might have a little bit of ice on the wings here. Interestingly enough, we can't see any clue for that from within the flight deck. The ice detector probe is clear, in other words, probably not simulated. Alt star, activate approach phase, and confirm. Alt. Okay, wing anti-ice on. Let's make sure we have clean wings by the time we intercept the ILS. Otherwise, things might go a little wrong. Approach mode is armed. Cat 3 single, glide slope localizer blue. Autopilot 1 and 2, Cat 3 dual. So, left heading 300, cleared for the ILS. So, looks like we have rather strong right-hand crosswind today. That's fine for the time being. Hey, the marker volume is turned off. Okay, so this looks quite okay to me. Flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. So 165 knots seems okay with me. And then manual flight, lock star, Cat 1, glide slope star, Goron altitude 2000 set. Glide slope. Okay, let's bring the bird alive. Overflying the middle marker of Hannover. Okay, gear down, flaps 2. Flaps 3, flaps 4. Flaps full. Landing checklist. Loadmaster advised. Auto thrust mode speed. Auto brakes minimum. Landing checklist complete. Okay, runway in sight. Localizer is checked, correcting. As you can see, there is quite a huge discrepancy. This is the maximum deviation allowed from the localizer, and if you look out there at the runway, that is quite a deviation, isn't it? Checked. For some strange reason, it sometimes activates the approach mode for me, or sorry, the go-around mode, when I just disconnect the auto throttle. Not exactly sure, perhaps an MSFS keybind issue or something the likes. Why is it setting my airspeed target high now? Yeah, it really went completely out of the approach phase. Well, this is better.
400.
Look at that shower right over the field.
300. Minimum.
Continue.
200.
So, following the puppy.
100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Touchdown upon 10. That is so confusing. Okay, spoiler, reverse, green, decel, manual brakes. Alright, here we go. That's our exit. Welcome to Wunstorf. Finally, back on German grounds. After a long time in Africa. So we're going to taxi off to the left-hand side. We'll park next to the other A300s. A400s, my apologies for that one. So off to the left-hand side over here. 10 knots, like that. Couple elevation issues here, it seems. Okay, and here we are, after landing procedures. And after landing checklist. Radar external light set, IFF. Standby, radar, and predictive wind shear off. After landing checklist complete. So, pretty hard to see any taxi line here. There's one. Okay, number 14 is to the left, so we'll take this one. Lights off. Parking brake set, APU still starting. Should be available any moment now. In the meantime, feathering the propellers. Anti-ice coming off, dome light on for whatever it's worth, and APU available. Beautiful. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, shutting down. So, propellers are standing. Parking checklist. External light set, parking brake set, fuel pumps. Off, parking checklist complete. So, blue electric pump is already on. Then let's open up the doors. Chocks in place. GPU in place. Okay. So, welcome back to Germany. Let's get downstairs and start unloading the aircraft. And with that, I'm afraid that's all I can offer you for today. Thank you so much for watching and for flying along. I sure hope you enjoyed this one. Leave your feedback in the comments underneath the video. As always, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. And if you really love what I'm doing, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.